This podcast is a proud member of the Unidentified Network.
Police in Las Vegas found themselves in the middle of a UFO mystery last month after
To us. Big eyes, they have big eyes.
911, what are you reporting? We got someone or something crawling around out here. Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal? Or?
Yeah, we're back on the Mythical Legends podcast. How are you, Nam?
Here we go again. Yes.
Oh,
I'm
God.
very good, thank you. Yeah, all well.
How's things?
Yeah. Trying to think what's happened this week. All the days run into one. So busy.
Well, happy Sunday to everyone out there, and I hope you are all having a fantastic day. Now, today, we have a special podcast, don't we?
Yep. We
I think
certainly
so.
do.
I think. I'm not sure, but yeah.
This is one that I definitely asked to co-host, wasn't it? I really do.
You had a bit of a kind of over Chris, and Chris went, "Well, I want to do that one," and you went, "No, that's mine. No,
this is
that's
me.
mine."
This is a firm favourite of mine.
So to everyone out there, I hope you are all very, very well. I hope you have had a wonderful week. Now today, we have some good stuff to dive into. We're going to dive into this week's fun fact in a minute. We then have a special guest co-host on today, and then we have a very, very special guest. Now I've got to say, our special guest co-host, I have been buddies with him for now, I think it's just over a year. And he's a wonderful, wonderful human being. But sometimes he's really, really silly. And this is going to be one of the moments to when he's really, really silly. And I can see him up backstage right now laughing his head off. Right. So we then have a wonderful, wonderful guest that has joined us today for this podcast. And I've got to say, if you're going to sit down and watch a podcast or listen to a podcast whilst driving or walking or whatever, this is one that you've got to listen to, because this is I would not want to miss this one. Now we'll get into all that stuff later, and we also have the podcast of the week coming up as well. I'm excited to release that a little bit later in the podcast, but for now, let's go to Miss Jill Roberts, the Mythical Legends co-host, for the fun fact of the week.
So this week's fun fact from the famous book of facts. So this one comes from New South Wales, Australia. It is a Mooliu Onk, which is an Aboriginal name for monster that lives in the water. It's described as a large lizard-like creature that loves to swim, and sometimes reported to be very similar to our own Loch Ness monster that we have here in Scotland. Reported sightings dated back to the 1800s, but the real fact of this is there are found rock drawings that they believe to be dated back to over 3,000 to 4,000 years of this very same creature. Today's fact.
Wow, that is fantastic. That is just fantastic. And say, guys, honestly, I'm not doing it, but keep a list of all these facts that the co-hosts bring, because these are fantastic things to remember for your own research, or for even if you're interested in Loch Ness, Bigfoot, Dogman, UFOs, whatever. But fantastic fact, man. Well done. And may I ask, did you like researching these facts? Have you enjoyed doing that?
Yes, the trouble is you get a bit bombarded with which fact comes from where and who it is and what the name is. So as you know, at the beginning of this, I had to quickly rewrite because I had 2 or 3 facts.
And also, I know that
created my own cryptid, I think.
I also know that you're very, very old and you can't write properly.
I'm the only one who can read it, and then even I have trouble sometimes.
Yeah. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are now going to get into the podcast itself. We have an amazing podcast lined up for you today. If you're just joining us now, I will let you know that we have got a fantastic special guest co-host, and we have an amazing guest on today's podcast. And then we have our amazing advert that I'm sure you will know what is coming. And then we will have later on the podcast of the week, and I can't wait to reveal that to you today. But before we do that, let's bring on our special guest co-host, Mr. Ryan RPG Golembeske.
Happy St. Patty's Day 2025 from the great state of Florida. Just kidding. No. I'm here for my Lucky Charms. You guys don't celebrate the St. Patty's over there, do you? Is that kind of... am I going to be in trouble just for bringing that up to the English folk?
No. There are lots of things going on for St. Patrick's Day. It's just not everywhere, but yeah, certainly in Ireland, and we all appreciate a nice party at the pub sometimes.
Well, I appreciate it because Daniel, he doesn't see holidays. He just sees doing the work and getting it done. And he's like, yeah, we're doing a podcast. I'm like, wait, isn't there something going on that day? I can't remember. It's like, oh yeah, it's St. Patty's Day. You watch the day I get married, we'll have a podcast to do that day, and we'll just have to do it. You know, me like a charms. No.
Well, RPG mate, how has things been?
Wonderful. The weather right now in Florida is to die for, and I love sitting on my back porch at night when there's no bugs and listening, because we had a sighting here in the property, so I'm always listening for the funny sounds. But wouldn't you know it, the only time it seems to happen is when the dogs are gone and I'm gone, and just the girls are out on the porch. So, interesting fact about Bigfoot stuff: the ladies or the kids have a better chance of interacting than the men do.
Excuse me.
Yeah. No, hey, you know, once you hit 18, well, then they're not going to be interested in you anymore. So you better go out as much as you can, bud.
Well, thank you for that.
And protect your Lucky Charms.
So, guys, we have a fantastic podcast to do, and I know that both of you really, really wanted to get on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
This
Definitely.
is a fantastic guest. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Definitely.
Yeah, this is a winner. This is a winner.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this podcast is going to be a little bit different to how normally we run it. Instead of us asking questions all the way through the podcast, part one of this podcast is going to be our guest talking about the legends that our guest knows. And then the second half of this podcast will then be us asking questions about those legends. I know that I will be trying to keep my lips shut throughout the legends, because I know that I will want to jump in and ask as many questions as possible. But we really want to dive in. So, guys, do you reckon I bring her on or just leave it?
Oh,
just leave her out there in the ether. Let her marinate a little bit.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome to the stage Harvest Moon.
Hi,
Hi, Harvest. How are you?
Hi, I heard there's some ears that need to be burned.
Hi, Harvest Moon. It's an honor.
Hi, Ryan. Hi, Jill.
Hi.
And the best in the West. Ryan.
Mhm.
So Harvest, I know that everyone should know who you are, but if they don't, could you just explain who Harvest
Sure.
Moon is?
Sure. My name is Harvest Moon, and I'm a Quinault storyteller. And I came across being a storyteller when I was really, really young. Unfortunately, when I was storytelling, it was called lying. And so I got into a lot of trouble.
Been
But
there.
then the harvest moon found a loophole, and it's called storytelling. And I
Mhm.
discovered I can lie and not get in trouble. So, um,
Don't teach that to my
but in the
kids.
meantime, it was really interesting because I was teaching the occupations of the longhouse as a teacher, and the museum wanted me to do this little legend at the end, and I so I accidentally got into storytelling that way, and then to open up and find out that my uncle was a famous storyteller, my
Mhm.
great great grandfather was a storyteller, and he worked with Boaz, the architect or the archaeologist, and so um, for being shy, sheesh, I ended up being a storyteller. So all you people out there that think that you can't do something, hey, you got living proof right here. And I've been storytelling for almost, well, 38 years. I've been telling legends, but I got
Wow.
some new ones, and I'm going to do one today too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Harvest Moon.
So before we dive into that, Harvest, I'm just going to tell you the rules of this. You're allowed to call Nan ancient, and yeah, and you're allowed to call Ryan stupid because he's got that half
No,
house.
dude, come
So
on.
right.
um,
Hold on. Harvest and I have had conversations before. We understand each other and we're girls together. Normally it's very male orientated, isn't it, Harvest? We're very happy when the two of
Yeah,
us can get together.
yeah. Don't mess with the dress.
Exactly.
so it is over to you, Harvest. You can tell as many
All
legends
right.
as you want.
Well, I always began with this legend. The only reason I began with this legend was because many people, when they bring their families and children, they just plop them right in front of them and say, and tell them to sit down and shut up. And then the parents go down and sit down. And then the storytellers of the longhouses, we tell stories for all ages. So this specific story was gifted to me by Johnny Moses. And if you can imagine, Johnny Moses was only 12 years old. And I think he traveled over the big pond when he was 12 to tell this story. And if you can imagine a little 12-year-old telling this story, it was a
Mhm.
phenomenal. It was just, I was still making mud pies. So I asked Johnny Moses if I could have permission to tell and kind of revise it into my version. And this is what I got. Long ago, there was a very prestigious young chief. Whenever he talked with his heart. Whenever he listened, he listened with his ears. And when anyone was in need, he was there to give. Well, because of these beautiful characteristics, people from all over came to live with him in his longhouse. And as years went by, soon the longhouse became very cramped and crowded. So one night the chief raised his talking stick, and in his very kind voice he said, "Let us all work together and we'll build the most beautiful longhouse in the
Mhm.
Pacific Northwest.
Mhm.
The very next day, all the people working side by side started to build this longhouse. It ended up to be 1 whole mile long. And on the completion, the chief jumps up on the roof of the longhouse. He faces his way to the north and he bellows, "All that can hear me can come to my potluck." He continued in all 4 directions until he lost his voice. That night, people from all over came to the potlatch. The men wore their beautiful carved masks. Women adorned with their beautiful button blankets. They were singing and dancing and having a wonderful feast when all of a sudden there was this strange knock on the longhouse wall. The chief pulled the blanket of the door open and he looked out. And to his surprise, there had to been at least 25 dogs standing outside the door of the longhouse. Now, back in those days, when the animals spoke, our people could understand what they said. And the dogs barked out, "Woof, woof, 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 woof." And the dog said, "Hey, you said all they can hear you can come to your potlatch. Where's the food?" Well, the chief, lost with words for a moment, finally came forward and said, "There's been a misunderstanding. Dogs don't come to a potlatch. It's just for people." And the dogs retorted and said, "But you said all they—" I know, no dogs allowed.
Mm.
Well, the dogs put their heads down and they walked to the edge of the woods, pondering over why they couldn't go to the potlatch until one of the dogs perked up and said, "Hey, why don't we build our own long house and we'll have our own potlatch and it'll be just for dogs." The very next day, all the dogs working together, they built the cutest little longhouse. It was only about waist high and about a block long. On the completion, one of the dogs jumps up on the roof of the longhouse. He too barks in all 4 directions until he too loses his bark. But as the sun was falling to the west, a very old elder dog got a very worried look on his face. The younger dogs came up quietly with their ears open and their mouths closed. The younger dogs go, Why do you look so worried? We got a beautiful longhouse. There's going to be singing and dancing and feasting." Well, the old elder dog spoke and said, uh, being it's so rainy and muddy, my tail is really dirty. And if all the dogs come to the potlatch, they're gonna be so happy that their tails will make the walls all filthy and dirty.
Hmm.
Well, that's a good concern until one of the dogs perked up and said, I got the answer. All we have to do is we'll place pegs on the outside wall of the loghouse and we'll make it a rule. Any dog who comes into the potlatch, they're going to have to pop their tail off and hang it on the peg. Problem solved. That night, dogs from all over came to the potlatch. They all popped their tails off, hung them on the pegs. They were singing and dancing and feasting when all of a sudden there was a strange knock on the longhouse wall. The dogs go, this is the people. And they're going to want to come to our potlatch and we're going to tell them no people allowed. Well, the dogs pulled the little blanket of the door open and they looked out. And to their surprise, there had been at least 30 coyotes standing outside the little door. And the coyotes bellowed out, and the coyote said, hey, cuz, you said all that can hear you can come to your potlatch. Come on, cousin, let us in. Well, the dogs looked at the coyotes and they go, you have to think we're idiots. No coyotes can come to this potlatch. It is just for dogs. Well, the coyotes put their heads down and they walked to the edge of the woods. But they waited for about an hour and the coyotes snuck back, jumped up on the little roof of the longhouse. They quietly pulled back the cedar planks, and the coyotes yelled, Fire! Well, those dogs ran out of the longhouse. They grabbed any tail they could find and popped it on. And so, to this day, whenever you see two dogs meeting, they're still looking for their own tail.
Oh my god! Oh, Hollis, that was amazing. That was
Love it.
honestly. Oh, I was that.
Absolutely love
Oh,
it.
Ryan, what did you think of that?
Oh,
I was wondering. I was like, "Where are we going?" Because
yeah,
I
I
thought
did
you were going to
too.
keep going for like 2 hours until you were like, "Wait, wait, okay, you got us." And then I'm like, "Oh, it's got a beautiful moral at the end." Oh, and that's why
Oh.
they're meeting. That's so. This is one of your newest ones.
No, this is the Johnny Moses. He's from Lummy. And can you
Ah,
imagine a little 12-year-old saying that legend?
that's
That's
Oh,
amazing.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's
lovely.
a gifted and heritage storytellers. So
Yeah.
we can outdo HBO any old time, you guys.
Yes. Right, before we go with any more questions, Harvest, enjoy yourself with this advert, and so will we, and we'll be back with questions after the break.
For half an hour on Saturday afternoons and for a quarter of an hour on Wednesday evenings. The world's only show about hard science, weird shit and surreality. And it's co-presented by an anthropomorphic chicken. Be there or be square.
Johnny. You know what I found really interesting about the storytelling as well is I think a lot of us are so accustomed to TVs now and this kind of like it even took a second. I love storytelling. That's why I was so excited to listen to you. But I don't know how long it was in, but there's a moment where you settle into the story and you understand that. Yeah, did you notice that? I noticed all of a sudden I was into it. Like
you're absolutely like totally forgot we're on a podcast. I just like oh what happens? What happens next?
That was like it took me 2 minutes to actually go, oh, this is really interesting. I just kind of sat here going, oh, this is just wonderful. I think to everyone out there who's just listened to that story, that is just fantastic. So there's one thing I'm going to say before we ask you any questions. Obviously, that was an amazing story. That was just amazing, and thank you for coming on to tell us that. So I'll kind of go around everyone. So Nan, I'll start with you. Do you have any questions, Harvest, about that legend?
Me? Question?
No, Nan, questioning you.
Well, no, not about the story itself, I don't think. But can I just sort of say I know it's from a child. So is that quite common that youngsters will tell the stories? They've listened to them growing up and then they start telling them? Is that a common thing?
Yeah, it's very uncommon. And what I recently came across personally is the fact that I had inherited uncles and grandfathers. And I think Johnny Moses was the same. I think he was an inherited storyteller. And if we keep our hearts open, you can actually help guide you through your life if you have that openness to your heart. Because I was going to be I was in the middle of being a midwife. And then all of a sudden, I
It's a noble
switched
job, huh?
over and became a storyteller and ended up having babies. Yeah. That dog legend is so nice because I can watch the parents start putting their their telephones down and I can and just like you guys, I could see you guys a little bit. I don't have my eyeglasses, but I love watching the audience as I take them through a roller coaster of emotional feelings and laughter down to tears. It's been a remarkable.
I was hoping that it wasn't going to have a sad ending because I thought I'll probably just cry.
You'd have to race me to it, Nan. No, and I think storytelling is truly far more profound than anyone understands because, in our particular culture, people fear public speaking more than death itself. And let's say that statement is actually true. Holy crap, there is a need for storytellers because I think one amazing way to do that without making it so scary is to find something you are truly passionate and you can feel and breathe and just be the story. And then you share that with people. And I love that. I think that's a tradition that should be even done more so in schools, but we just have to find a better way to introduce it so it's not so terrifying, for kids. But it sounds like when you do it, the community is around you and they embrace you and they encourage you and they're part of it and they're breathing with you and you become in sync. And man, I wish that for everyone. So super cool.
Yes.
I'd say
it will be for everyone. I just finished grant work and the government believes that storytelling will bring learning back into schools. since
Rock
COVID.
on.
So that's
Yeah.
pretty neat, Ryan. You caught on to that because
Mhm.
all my legends are influencing by opening your ears.
Yeah.
That will be a big accomplishment in this world because everybody
Mhm.
has these iPods and they
Mhm.
don't have aunties, uncles nearby. The
Yeah.
family is all gone, and so I'm an auntie or an uncle around here a lot.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
say harvest, I think that's where it comes to a lot of children, adults, not so much kind of the like people like Nan, but have they have things like um, technology now that they just scroll on Facebook and they're kind of, or if they want to watch something, they'll go onto YouTube or whatever on their TV. But I feel like that story, I just started going, well, this is just amazing. And say what when you've told that story before, or even other legends, what has the children's reaction been to you?
Well, there's three sets of storytellers, and I'm one of those that can go from newborn to elder. And so it's really interesting to see how the ears open up for everyone and how each story even though it's one centralized story, how people come up afterwards and go, you know, that one part that really hit my heart. I really got
Mm.
to start learning how to be a better listener. And all my stories and legends, my backbone is being comedy. And I believe that if I can get a chuckle and a laugh, that opens up a soul, heart, and mind. And
Yeah.
I believe when I start storytelling, when you guys mention that, I do. I'm a shy person. So for a whole 24 hours before this, I'm just, you know, almost sick because I'm so nervous. But then
Mhm.
once I get into the story, there's
Mhm.
only two people that came up in my 38 years of storytelling, and that was the last 5 years. And then you two right now, or you three, is you're not really there, are you? And I go, no. Once the story, once the story starts, and then it just kind of it starts
Yeah.
going in like one of
Oh.
those snow bubbles.
Mhm.
Yeah. And say that it's just wonderful to kind of have people like you that can kind of draw that attention away for even if it's just 5 minutes, draw that attention away from the phone, what's going on around them. Just draw that attention to go, do you know what? I'm really enjoying this. I think a lot of people these days do need that.
Mm.
And I think, yeah, go on, Ryan.
And the English have a saying, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
if you can
Ah.
deliver wonderful knowledge in a
Yeah.
playful and exuberant manner, then you have a better chance. Peer-to-peer
Mm.
learning and play, that's we're mammals. That's how we
Of course,
learn, and God
because
forbid
it's
it's fun, we learn fast.
enjoyable, isn't it?
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah.
And there's actually a condition, I can't think of the actual name of the word, but it's something almost all of us, or befalls almost all of us when we get older, is we take ourselves too serious and we've pigeonholed ourselves into a character that we expect of ourselves and we think the world does, and we don't understand that maybe the greatest thing Shakespeare ever said was all the world's a stage and we're merry players. You can change that person
Mm.
anytime you want. So what is the true superpower of a
Mm.
storyteller? It's that
Mm.
they can be anyone and anything they want. Honestly, it might be the greatest gift you could give any child, is to be able to temporarily transport themselves to any place and stand and deliver, which is what Harvest Moon just did magically. So
Yeah.
that's like, yeah, that's like, and what we're really talking about with phones, which goes up my butt sideways, is like, that's modern mentorship. And that
Mm.
is not going to work unless you are
No.
completely just dialed into the mentors, because there are mentors online. Absolutely. We're all there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
most of it's nonsense. And I think one of the great ways to do is you got to get kids to sit in front of you. You got to give them time to let the addiction drop and dial into your frequency, which is why it's so important what you do, Harvest. And I think that's hearing that about the education, like, you know, Whatever direction you look when you know you're winning, look that way because that's a big win.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
say that's
Mm.
and that's one of the reasons, Harvest, where you've been
Mm.
on the podcast twice now, and that's why I think it's really important to keep people like you on different podcasts, because it's like you go, people need that message out there, and whether you get that message to 10 different people or 100 or 500 or even 5,000, it doesn't matter. You are still getting that message out to some people, and as we've all said, it's the education and the side of that that is important, to kind of not keep your phone here or not to watch TV for 48 hours and not stop. It's kind of that. So yeah, I thank you for coming on. Nan, do you have any last questions for Harvest?
No, I don't have last questions, but I do want to say it's not just telling story, is it? People can tell stories and it can come across flat, uninteresting. You would tell that same story because you put all the emotions into it. You've got the most amazing storytelling gift. You make the gestures, you do the things, your voices go, you are in that story, which is what comes out. So any kids, adults, whatever, we were all sucked into that then for that length of time. It's the way at it as well as what the stories are. So I think you've got that magical gift, definitely.
Thank you.
I wish, Daniel, that there was time at the conference now. Now I want to do a live storytelling with Harvest Moon, or maybe a couple of us. You pick the story, you guide it, but with multiple parts that we can play back and forth off each other. Dude, I would do that in a heartbeat. Like,
yeah.
I have a new legend. It's the spirit of Rolling Rocks, and there's a special character in the middle of this legend that I think it could be Bigfoot's wife, the basket lady with the
okay.
basket on her back, and yeah, that's the Steven Spielberg legend.
Sure. And your people are known for your baskets as well as canoes, right? The
Oh
Kanal
yeah,
people?
the basket
Yeah.
makers and the storytellers were one-on-one because the
Yep.
basket makers were the closest to the fire, so her
Mhm.
face or his face is
Yeah.
close. She or he already has a captivated audience because, they're
Mhm.
making a basket. And
Yep. Do it.
so it was very natural for the basket maker to be the storyteller.
Makes sense.
And when I
Yep.
wasn't making very much money for basket making because I wasn't very good at the beginning, I took up that storytelling and advanced storytelling at the Evergreen State College. So it took a lot of sweat and tears to polish these legends to the core.
Mhm.
Well, that's just fantastic. So, Harvest, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and I think this will not be her last time on the podcast, if you get what I mean. Because I think it would be fantastic, and I definitely want to speak to you again, and I'm sure Ryan would like to come on again at some point.
Yes, please.
So, to everyone out there, now I am going to show you the podcast of the week. So, Harvest, I will speak to you in a minute, and we are going to find out what the podcast of the week is. 1, 2, 3. And the podcast of the week is From Behind Tall Trees with Gwendolyn Purcell. Gwen is a brilliant researcher that runs the Got Knockers Bigfoot Company, I call it, and she is a fantastic person that also runs the Central PA Bigfoot and Cryptid Festival that myself and RPG will be at this year, which we can't wait for. Now, I gotta say, guys, Harvest was a fantastic guest to have on, and I'm just looking at her backstage right now. I can see her smiling. And it is fantastic to have someone like that on. What do you guys think?
Yeah, she's completely different. Our other guests, they're all different. They're all, lovely storytellers. But she is completely different. She brings something entirely new to it, and it's going to appeal to such a big range of people.
Yeah.
I think she's mesmerizing. I could sit and listen to her for hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with Bigfoot, when you start doing the research, there's going to be a few aha moments for you where you're going to go, yeah, that should just have everybody believe if they just accepted this fact. And the fact that, go and try to find a Native American or First Nations peoples here that do not have Bigfoot in their oral history or in their storytelling, and you're not going to find it. That right there should be all the proof in the world. And what I love about Harvest Moon is as she moves, I want her in every school. I want her everywhere, because until we start respecting the wisdom of our elders, until we simply start respecting our elders, then how are we ever going to learn, And that's something I love so much about you two. You know what I mean? Like, I dreamed about doing something that you guys do with my grandmother, and I didn't get a chance to. So it's wonderful, because there is no reason, because one of the things she said that was really profound was there are 3 different types of storytellers, and she's the one that can connect to everyone. And the only thing I would so lovingly and politely, I think everyone has that ability, but it's more natural for someone like herself, but no, it's wonderful, and the world needs to have more of it. And I'm actually thinking, I'm like, she needs to start an online school so I can go to school and I can get my PhD in this, and let's go in a heartbeat. You take people away to this moment, and then you bring them back. That is magic. That's real magic. But anyway, I thought it was lovely, and
it's lovely.
And say I think that was a very different podcast, and I think what I said at the beginning was very right, that we haven't had a podcast like this before, which is why it's so special to have that every once in a while. So to everyone out there, thank you so much for watching this podcast, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you are listening to the audio, whether you're doing a car journey or not. We can't thank RPG and Harvest Moon enough for coming on, and of course
St. Paddy's Day.
And of course Joe Roberts, our Mythical Legends co-host, for our fact of the week. So don't forget, if you would like to follow this podcast more, don't forget to go and check us out on Amazon, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, or if you wanted to watch the video podcast where you see Harvest's amazing face and Ryan's face with the hat on, you can watch us on YouTube as well. And if you would like to put a fun fact to us, or you'd like to actually come on to the podcast to be a co-host, or you'd like to come and tell your encounter, then email mythicallegends29@gmail.com, and that'll come straight to me.
But you'll have to battle me for it, matey. You'll have to battle me for it.
And you can also visit our website at mythicallegends.co.uk. And don't forget, we have the upcoming Cryptid Conference UK on May 30th, 31st, and 1st of June. Ryan is one of our guest headliners, and the second one is Ronnie LeBlanc, which we can't wait for both of them to be in the UK. And Harvest Moon will be with us virtually as well, which is fantastic. Fantastic that she'll be with us. And I think I'm going to get RPGs to host that bit. I haven't told him that though.
I won't tell you.
To you, RPG, is there anything else that you would like to say on this podcast?
It's very difficult, but be the true, authentic version of yourself, whatever that is, and you'll find that the people that really care about you love you. Nothing really changes. Just be you, whatever you're holding back, and whatever silly thing you're really passionate about, go pursue it, and pursue it with reckless abandon. And you'll be amazed how many wonderful characters and experiences you pick up along that journey. We love you.
And finally, Nan, is there anything else that you would like to say?
Well, after who can follow RPG? Yes, all of ditto.
You, Nan.
I think it's this opportunity to speak to so many different people that with so many passions that you do get drawn into all of it, and it's just a wealth of knowledge. And after that story with Harvest, I feel really relaxed.
Yeah, me too.
Everything's just so lovely.
Sleep now. So my last words for you are then: keep searching, stay mythical, and most importantly, stay safe, and make sure you keep listening to Harvest Moon. Thank you, guys, and here comes the outro.